gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. This time around, I'm talking about ReCore. ReCore is a very interesting game. It is exclusive simply to the Windows Xbox platform, but it's also kind of flown under the radar and not quite like a big AAA Xbox exclusive type of game. But what exactly is it? It's like this action arcadey feeling shooter with tons of platforming elements. And overall, I'd say ReCore is a mostly solid gameplay with a host of other issues that may turn some people off. But let me get into it, because honestly, it's not as bad as I think some reviews are making it out to be, but there are some bad elements to it, so let me get to it. First of all, you're thrown into the world of ReCore. You're on a desert planet after most of humankind has been wiped out by a virus on Earth, and you play as Jewel, a scavenger-type girl who honestly reminds me a lot of Rey from Star Wars. Basically what this game is you're basically Rey from Star Wars. You wander around the desert, collecting robot parts and doing things. I'm glossing over a bit because honestly the story doesn't really mean too much. It's not awful, but what is there works fine. It's just nothing really that memorable. The gameplay is not open world, it's more overworld. It's big, large areas separated by loading screens, and basically you go out, you explore, there's dungeons, you go in the dungeons, you progress through the story and collect loot. And honestly, it's pretty fun. The first-person shooting combat is cool. It takes some getting used to because there is an auto lock-on element to it that feels, very over-the-top and arcadey and almost a bit too easy. But once the game starts to show its nuance in the combat gets really fun. Not only are you managing your robot companions to attack and help defend you whenever you want, you're also constantly firing away, dodging attacks, and changing your ammo type to adapt to the different enemies. It almost feels a little bit Borderlands-y, the way you shoot at enemies and number damage counters fly off of them, and you can change your ammo types on the fly to just keep on mowing them down. And what I do really like about the combat is that there is moment-to-moment choice in how you tackle everything. You can finish off an enemy and shoot them into oblivion and collect parts to craft new parts for your robots, or you can click the stick and engage in this mini-mode tug-of-war thing where you pull the core out of enemies and you use those cores to level up your robot's skills. I really like that reactive dynamic decision making you have to do in the combat, and it does make the combat feel pretty damn fun. It does get chaotic. At first it seems very easy, but later on a lot of things start going on that you're always switching weapon types, you're switching out companions, and it gets somewhat challenging and there's a lot going on. I think what I don't like about it is that enemy attacks do have a tendency to queue you up and basically pin you down and you can't get up because you're constantly just getting mauled. That gets a little frustrating at times, and also I think I'd like a little bit more in terms of dodging. You can really only jump and boost slightly left and right. It just doesn't feel like enough. But otherwise, it's fun combined with the rest of the gameplay, which is kind of like traversal environmental puzzles and a lot of platforming, which I didn't expect, but it feels pretty decent. You got a double jump and like a rocket jetpack boost. You can also use your robot companions to help you kind of grapple and get around in different ways. And the game does do a very good job of consistently throwing different elements at you to add new challenges and new things you have to learn. I really enjoyed that. There's also little side quests and side dungeons here and there that you can get for more loot. And overall, it does sort of reward exploration in a world that's otherwise not really filled with a whole lot, but I still did enjoy wandering around and collecting loot because the feeling of upgrading and crafting and just upgrading your robots feels really great. You have to go back to your sandcrawler type hideaway to do this, but I really appreciate it and did not expect the focus on really upgrading your robot pals and not necessarily yourself as much. Of course, you get stronger and you level up, but it's really about using your robot companions to your advantage, and you can really make them very powerful. You start out with a dog who can basically attack and help you and can also sniff around and dig for treasure. Then later on you get a spider that can shoot lasers and also kind of help you grapple hook around the environment. And then after that you get the large ape-like tank character that can cause a ton of damage. These guys are all completely upgradable and swappable with different levels of perks, attributes, attack power, defense power, and of course cosmetic. You can make your robots really look badass, and they actually prove to be pretty damn useful in combat. So far so decent, right? I'd say that part of the game is very strong, but there are some definite issues here. To me at least, here and there, the game has a tendency to feel a little bit padded. Traversing these long distances, while you do have fast travel, it just screams for more of a traversal mechanic other than just running and boosting. The game is screaming for some sort of desert hoverboard action. I don't know. But unfortunately, the padding thing is really there, especially with the endgame stuff, because it's kind of locked behind this whole going back and doing completionist stuff. Basically, to get to the end of the game, you have to go back and complete side quests and find things you didn't find before. It'd suck less if it felt a little more balanced, but honestly, it feels like an annoying grind. And the biggest issue, and I'm sure you've probably heard about this, are the technical issues. This game, the frame rate absolutely chugs at times on Xbox One. Not only that, but there's tons of technical glitches here and there, like respawn points just kind of constantly dumping you off cliffs or into enemy territory, like in a weird and jarring, kind of bizarre way here and there. You're just gonna come across weird bugs, but the biggest thing, the most unforgivable thing, are the load times. You've probably heard about this. They are insanely long. Sometimes you can get a load time up to 2 minutes, and it's incredibly frustrating because you die, restart a section, or fast travel back to your base, and you need to deal with these load times every single time. And it's even more frustrating because, let's be honest, the game isn't overly complex. I don't know what it's taking so long to load for. Hopefully, these issues can be smoothed out, and of course, the PC version mostly clears up these issues from frame rate to load times, but it's something worth mentioning. It's gonna turn some people off. The game is rough. It's in a very rushed shape, even visually. I mean, look at it. But overall, at least to me personally, the game itself, playing the game, is fun. It still manages to be charming, and it's just straight up good, clean, old-fashioned video game fun. To me, and I talk about this sometimes, it's like that mid-tier budget-priced game that we need sometimes. You know, in the time of Xbox, PlayStation 2, and even 360 and PS3, there were those mid-tier developers that made games that maybe didn't cost full price, and they weren't as great as some of the big heavy hitters out there, but they were still decent fun. Well, if you know kind of what I'm talking about, that's exactly what ReCore is. The game is only $40 in the United States, and honestly, for that, I do think it's worth it, maybe even a little cheaper. I can't say, you know, to go run out and buy this game right now, because the issues here and there are gonna bother some people, and some people also just don't like these type of lesser feeling games anymore. But I do think there is enough charm and fun factor there to keep you busy, keep you shooting, and keep you looting, and keep you crafting and running and jumping. But that's just me, guys. You know the deal. I've given you the bullet points, kind of the pros, the cons, what the game has, and a little personal opinion in there. But I want to know what you guys think about ReCore down in the comments. Have you been playing? How do you feel about it? Because people seem pretty divided on this one, but I need to know what you think, because I don't know, I saw some review scores and then I played it and I was like, am I crazy? I don't think this game is that bad. But then again, there are some real issues here, so I do want to know if those issues bothered you enough to turn you off from the game. If you have any more questions about ReCore, I'll be in the comments, and I'll also be on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino as well. You can ask me on there. You guys know the deal though. Clicking the like button helps me out and lets me do more before you buys every single week, and subscribing if you're new is a good idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.